our very first on-ground interview here at the fantastic Mundi Mundi Bash. Thank you so much for the time.
It's an absolute pleasure. What a place, what a location, what a festival.
It's just the epitome of what Australia's all about, the dirt, the incredible 14,000 people here this year that come from literally everywhere.
It's pretty special. I mean, just explaining it to friends and family of mine back at home, just how unique this thing is. This and obviously the Big Red Bash are two iconic festivals now that are just unlike any that you could ever want to play at. And I've wanted to play this festival, I reckon, for the last 10 years, and this is our first time, so I'm pumped my way.
Well, it gets bigger and bigger every year, and I know we're sitting in Greg Donovan's living room here, his outback living room.
How good is this? It's pretty magic.
Well, last few years you've had some fantastic recognition of your albums, ARIA Award winners for Light It Up, and then obviously just new music all the time. You stoked with it. Where do you find time to write?
I guess we took a bit of time actually. Light It Up, the previous album, was a dream come true to win my first ARIA and a couple of golden guitars. So that was really, really special, and we sort of decided to take some time with this new album and made a whole bunch of trips over to Nashville and teamed up with some incredible writers over there and waited until we got it right. So it's 2.5 years since Light It Up came out, and Mayday's the new album, and so far it's going really well, so really happy. Yeah.
And just before we started the cameras rolling, you did give us a hint that you're heading to Perth.
We are heading to WA. I absolutely love Western Australia, genuinely love it. I've been lucky enough to sing at the telethon quite a few times, and that's another one of those things where I don't think people on the east coast of Australia quite get the magnitude of that event. It's such a special thing, and done a few telethons and we've played a few shows over there, and but this will be our first headline gig in Perth. I think October 25th is when we're playing, so that's going to be great.
That's pretty much close to telethon.
It is. It's the same weekend.
Yeah.
So if you're in Perth or you're in WA, come see us at Rosemont Hotel.
Yeah, the Rosemont, beautiful place. But there's some other things you'll be doing here, not just playing on stage. You're giving me a little insight into there may be a funny shaped ball that's getting kicked around later.
Oh, mate, we're big AFL fanatics in my band. I grew up in Tassie as a kid, so footy's a religion down there, and I grew up playing, and actually got to a point where I had to make a call whether I was going to continue to play footy and give it a real red hot crack or go with music. And I decided to go with music, and always wanted to play one gig on the MCG. Never actually play a game there would have been a dream come true. But we love our footy, so we challenged Daryl Braithwaite to a kick. He's done it with us once before, and so he reckons he's going to take us on a little bit later. So we'll see.
Is Daryl a bit of a ringer?
He can play. He can kick. We did a festival with him a couple of years ago out at Winton, and I was telling you off air, we were backstage having a kick, and Braithwaite's band, they're on stage, they're about to start the set, and he's walking up the ramp, about to start the show, and then he sees us kicking the footy, stops, comes back down, has a kick with us, goes back on stage, starts the show. It's like, that's a rock star. What
Every
a legend.
stage manager's dream.
Oh, he's such an absolute legend.
Well, taking you back to the early days, you mentioned Tassie. What were your musical influences back then growing up? What was the first thing that kind of grabbed you?
Interesting story. Well, the first concert, I'm trying to think. I mean, the first cassette I got was Dire Straits, and that's still one of my favourite albums, Brothers in Arms. Johnny Cash was the first concert I ever went to, so that was probably a bit of an introduction to country for me. But then the really interesting thing, when I was a little bit older, in my early teens, the first CD I got was Bryan Adams' Greatest Hits, and so I delved right into that album. Used to sit in the bedroom and try and teach myself how to play all the songs. And then fast forward, interestingly, the guy who runs this festival, Mark Krastowski, gave me my first big start in music, and it was opening for Bryan Adams, because I used to pester Mark all the time and send him emails and say, if you ever get an opportunity, chuck me on a show, and he was part of the reason I got that support. So it was funny, that was my first CD, and then that was my first big show I ever did. Yeah.
Fantastic. And of course, country is just becoming such a huge thing here in Australia. We know how big it is globally. All these festivals in Tamworth and all that through the East Coast, and the mustards, they're just popping up everywhere now.
Yeah, it is. It's interesting. I mean, it's sad on one hand that there's a lot of festivals that aren't doing that. A lot of the mainstream pop the pop festivals. I mean, we just found out the Blues Fest, that's going to be their very last one. If it really ships out, we were lucky enough to play that a couple of years ago, and that was unbelievable. But country is having a bit of an interesting moment at the moment where it's just blowing up everywhere, and country festivals seem to be flourishing and doing really well. So that's exciting.
I've just interviewed Andrew Farris recently, and he's gone down that country route, which is incredible. He's really living that whole outlaw story thing, the dish ranges.
Yeah,
there's nothing like
he's another one of those guys that, lucky enough to sit around and actually listen to a lot of his stories of back in the InXS days and at the height of their career, and what a life that guy's led. But yeah, such a nice guy, and he's dipping his toe in the country. Doing great.
Well, of course, there's also a family connection now with your music, with your daughter.
Oh yeah.
Which I heard has started flourishing into a musician on her own accord. Could be overtaking Dad soon.
She definitely will be. It's funny, like both of my girls, my wife sings as well. She's an amazing singer, and we didn't ever want to pressure our kids to get into music, but they naturally sort of gravitated to it. My 16-year-old Charlie is she's unbelievable. So yeah, I think she might have a bright future ahead. But we were lucky enough I got her to sing with me on a song the other day, which is very rare for her to agree to do that, and especially for it to be put on social media. But she let me put it up online, and it's that's pretty cool.
Well, Jon 100 Cases social media to check that out. I'd just like to wind up with a couple of regular questions. I've got a restaurant question. If you could invite 3 musicians, dead or alive, to join you for a bit of dinner, who would you like to sit for the evening?
Oh, that's a good call. I'd love to Keith Urban, Elton John, maybe Paul McCartney.
Fantastic. We get sucked into a world of playlists. What was the last album you listened to?
Really weirdly, I'm obviously country, but I listen to a whole bunch of different styles of music, and my daughters have got me onto an artist called Reyne, who is going to, mark my words, become the biggest artist, I reckon one of the biggest artists in the world in the next 6-12 months. She's going to
heard that here first.
You heard it first. She's a superstar, and I love it. There's a video, if you get the chance to look it up online. I love her story because it was only a couple of years ago. There's a video of her busking, playing piano, playing to like 30 or 40 people, and then the video flashes to her playing things called Lollapalooza. It's a really massive festival in America, and she's playing in front of 80,000 people 2 years later or whatever it is, and it just shows. I love the message of persistence and never giving up on what your dream is, and she's a superstar.
Fantastic. Well, I'd like to save my easiest question for last. If you could be credited with writing any song ever written, what song would you choose?
Imagine. Yeah, that would be interesting. Yeah, Fire and Rain, James Taylor. I don't know, there's so many songs. Yeah, probably right.
Casey, well, thank you so much for your time. We can't wait to see you up on stage later on today in this beautiful New South Wales weather, Mad Max country. Thank you for your time, really appreciate it.
Pleasure. Thanks for having me.